Hey there, fellow Detroit enthusiasts. Have you heard about Nest? It's one of Detroit's best destinations for all your home good, plant, and gift needs this holiday season. The sibling store to Citybird, Nest has your holiday list covered with even more perfect selections. Picture this, the enchanting scent of their annual limited holiday release candle, the Roland Pine, filling your home with cozy vibes. And speaking of vibes, their collection of glass ornaments is sure to make you smile. Because who doesn't want David Bowie, or a stick of butter, or a number of other fun and crazy things on the tree? But Nest isn't just about the holidays. It's a treasure trove of beautiful home goods, decor, candles, plant items, kids, puzzles, and apothecary items. I have picked up so many gifts for the team over the years there. Whatever your taste or budget, Nest has something for you. Nest is nestled in Detroit's vibrant Midtown neighborhood, adding to the charm of your shopping experience. If you're looking for that perfect gift or want to elevate your living space, visit Nest at 498 West Canfield in beautiful Midtown Detroit, Michigan. Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Daily Detroit. It is a snow-dusted Wednesday, December 20th, 2023 here in the North End in the beautiful city of Detroit. I am Jer Stays, and across the table to talk all things Metro Detroit is
Shianne Azzarini.
So always good to see you, producer Shianne.
It is always good to see you too, Jer.
You brought treats.
I did. I brought some caffeination.
All right. Let's get into it because the logo looks familiar. We've talked about it a bit on the show. You surprised us here.
I did. Yesterday was the first day of the new Ferndale Caribou.
So you were just dying to try it.
I downloaded the app last week, Jer. I was prepped and
You've
ready
been
to
locked
go.
in.
I have been. I was like, I'm going to find out what's on this menu. I'm going to refresh myself.
It's like the nightclub of our 40s.
It is.
Did you see that thing on social media of this New York dance club?
I have.
I'm all about this idea. The party starts at 5 and runs to 11.
I am there.
Because I feel like that's exactly the vibe I'm feeling like at this point. Like I'm down for a good time, but I'd like to be in bed.
I know. I was like, hey, I could be home by 8. Sounds great to me.
Do a few hours and then leave.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I get my fill and then go home.
Think about us for a while. Everyone talking about, well, we are the young people still.
Kind of.
Veteran young people.
We're veteran young people. I'm still aghast that I'm in my 40s now.
Let's talk about this Caribou. What was your first impression?
First impression, it is bright and cheerful on Woodward. It's like this pretty teal. They painted it. It used to be a Subway.
Remember when teal was all the thing in the 90s? The San Jose Sharks?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like I had mentioned before, there is no seating space inside.
And people have strong feelings about this because Devin and I talked about this.
Yeah.
Let me share you something from listener Anna, which I had to laugh a little bit. I think drive-through coffee shops are fine. I hate sitting there with weird people. And I'm not going to make good coffee myself, and it's not like I can walk anywhere because a lot of people were upset because Devin was very clear that he likes coffee shops he can go into that, you can enjoy folks, whatever. And we got a lot of emails saying, I'm all for the drive-through. I don't like people. Literally, I don't like people was a theme.
I mean, sometimes I don't like people. There are times when I do not want to be around people, but then there are other times. I think what threw me off when they announced that it was going to be drive-through only, they do have a walk-up window.
Oh, that's good. I love a good walk-up window.
Yes. So you can park and walk up to the window, but you cannot actually walk inside the building.
Is there going to be any seating out there? Or does it look like there's space for seating?
No, there's no space for seating.
Because I think about Milwaukee Cafe and
Yes.
some other places, there's like, some umbrellas, whatever.
Yeah, it's not. It's a parking lot you pull in, and they actually have 2 drive-through lanes a la McDonald's where you can order your coffee and then go to the pickup window for your drive-through. It was quick. It was efficient. No problems there.
Any interesting highlights? Something that people might not notice?
I did get a drink carrier because I ordered 3 coffees.
Okay.
And it wasn't one of those corrugated, weird drink carriers.
The ones without the handles?
Yes.
The one where you got to underneath?
Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily fit the cup well and things are tipping over. It's precarious. No, this was a nice 4-hole handled drink carrier.
I fell down a YouTube rabbit hole one time about 3D printed drink carriers.
Oh, really?
So that you could print them and kind of open them and then spring load them, and then they would go around the four sides, so that when I get those kind of drink carriers, I could just be like, thunk, like a claw.
Oh, okay. So like it would hold the whole thing, and then you wouldn't.
And then I went into drink carriers for riding on buses, for all kinds of things. There's this whole like subculture of like making drink carriers. I was completely fascinated.
I have never fallen down that rabbit hole, but knowing my brain, one day I might.
So thumbs up, thumbs down? I mean, it tastes like I remember it. 'Cause it's different vibe than Starbucks.
It's a totally different vibe than Starbucks. I got my usual iced vanilla latte with skim.
Mm-hmm.
It tastes like an iced vanilla latte with skim.
Oat milk, it works. Oat milk latte, pumpkin thing.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the same. Because I will say, for the other large coffee brand, I am such a sucker for the shaken brown sugar oat milk espresso drink.
Mhm.
I am a sucker for that one. But still good. So you know what? Hey, glad we tried it, and thanks for bringing it by the studio.
Oh, absolutely.
I felt like I needed to overstuff the chairs in here just to be ready.
We need a fireplace. I will say that's the one thing I do miss about Caribou. It had a vibe on the inside. It was cozy. It was like you were inside a snow-covered lodge thing, and it had a fireplace and overstuffed chairs. And I broke up with many a ex-boyfriend.
Okay, so wait, Caribou was the end of the line.
No,
Like if you were going to Caribou with you, that was like it.
no. I mean, it was
Unlike the-
beginning.
like the
it was
Chinese
a beginning. It was a beginning, a middle, and an end.
So it was always the Caribou.
It was always a Caribou.
Because I think about that episode. I've only watched like 3 episodes of Sex in the City, but there's one episode where there's a Chinese restaurant where they go with dates they don't want their friends to know about. It's terrible. It's terrible. But I'm like, is Caribou that for you? I'm like,
No.
oh, okay.
No, I mean, it was a beginning, a middle, and an end, but definitely multiple
The
ends.
Alpha and the Omega.
Yes. But it was definitely the Grosse Pointe Caribou was a vibe during my teenage years and into my 20s.
If any of your ex-boyfriends are listening to this, thanks for the trip down memory lane.
Right.
Woodward Avenue. That's your neck of the woods. I've kind of saved this to talk to you because that is your very much neck of the woods.
It is.
You're up and down Woodward all the time.
I am.
I went up there actually to do some shopping.
Mhm.
So I went and checked out all of this stuff, and I've gotten a ton of feedback on both sides about these changes on Woodward Avenue, right around 9 Mile and Woodward, up a little bit, down a little bit, but that's kind of the epicenter of all of it.
Yeah.
So people know a recent project. If you're on the east or west side, you haven't seen it, whatever. 4 lanes of traffic got converted to 3. One of those lanes is now alternating and set up for parking and or dual lane bike lane.
Yes.
I went and saw it. There are some changes. What are your thoughts?
You know what? I am all for road diets. I know it is divisive. I know people either love them.
You live near a road diet too.
Exactly. I live near 9 Mile in Oak Park, where it went from, I want to say it was 2 lanes on each side, and it went down to 1 lane on each side with protected bike lanes on the south side of 9 Mile in Oak Park. It was bike lanes on both sides of the street, and then they found that people were driving and turning through the bike lane, which you're not supposed to do.
That happens all the time in Detroit, by
It
the
does.
way. And
It
that's one of the
does.
reasons why you need physical barriers,
Yes.
because there are some just painted bike lanes or
Mhm.
whatever in Southwest Detroit.
Yeah.
And here I am trying to follow the rules. And then there's like 6 cars just rolling through the bike lane to turn right.
I know. Oak Park's answer to this was, okay, we're going to move both bike lanes to the south side of 9 Mile between Rosewood and Scotia, and we're going to make it a protected bike lane. And we're going to put in parking blocks to keep cars out of this lane.
Well, so paint isn't protection. It's
No.
not protection for cars, and it's not protection for the bikers. Like
It's not.
If it's just paint, it's not fair to either party. Let's get back to Woodward, because I saw some of those
Yeah.
white things, and I was a little disappointed to see them. But then I looked at the paperwork and like, oh, they're going to be doing a lot more.
They will be in the spring, right?
Okay.
Like we're getting into winter. It's going to be snowy. It's going to be icy.
You also can't really do that
You
work.
can't really do that work in this kind of weather. So they will be putting those out in the spring. And I'm happy for it. I'm happy that there's going to be bike lanes on Woodward. I'm happy that there's going to be less lanes to cross Woodward, because I used to live off of Woodward in Ferndale, and I used to take the bus to and from work. And crossing Woodward, even at a light, is scary sometimes.
4 lanes is like a freeway to me. It's like a surface freeway.
I mean, it's 4 lanes on each way. So it's 8 lanes of traffic. And there's no way you're making it across Woodward in 1 lane.
From the commuting side, one thing that I noticed was that traffic has actually been down through Woodward as of late. So, I mean, I guess to me, that's the easiest way to think about it is 3 to 4. I also noticed that the buses have bump outs.
They do.
Like the bus stops have bump outs where the bus just doesn't have to pull or over or whatever, can just go through, stop, grab people, go on, which is the way that like civilized places do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say that there are a few, like the bike lanes have bump outs as well in certain areas because there are light poles along Woodward. So the bike lane kind of like goes out and then in, and there is parking in certain areas on the road. And those are on the outside of the bike lanes. So the bike lanes are closer to the curb. Parking is on the outside of the bike lanes.
Which is something drivers still haven't figured out on Cass.
No, it's been that way on Cass for 10 years.
Well, I think there's this idea where you just should be able to put your car wherever you want. But to be fair, we're used to that.
We are
used to that.
We are used to that. And there are people who are very angry that they've taken away a lane of traffic on Woodward. And they're angry that you can no longer turn right on red at certain streets on Woodward.
Wasn't that because of some pedestrian crashes?
Yeah, it's because people were getting hit by cars.
I can tell you're feeling strongly about this one.
I feel like everybody deserves to have access to the places that they live, whether they are in a car, whether they are on their feet, or whether they're on a bicycle.
I feel like these communities, though, are also making a cultural statement.
They are.
About their values. Because there are suburbs in this area that you can have Hall Road. You can have these mile roads with none of this stuff if that's what you want.
If you want no sidewalks and no stop signs and only yield signs, go move to the middle of Macomb County.
I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
And yet people complain when they go out there that they don't have the services they had before. Like, it's tough, right? That's the challenge, is it? And I understand legitimate concerns about bike lanes and things, and I always get hate mail about this because apparently I'm a socialist.
Because you like bike lanes?
Yes.
Okay.
And executions in it. Like I said, in the city of Detroit, there's been some areas where they didn't protect them or it's just paint, and that isn't really an option. You've got to kind of enforce things. So it'll be interesting to see how this comes out. It'll be interesting to see the statement that Ferndale and those areas are making about, hey, we want a more walkable community. Hey, we want people to come here, get out of the car, and walk around and check things out.
Yeah.
Nearby in Oak Park, there was a lawsuit recently for the owners of the old WWJ building.
Yeah.
It was going to be a restaurant concept called 8MK. This was announced years ago. I remember when Sven was on the show.
Sven was here.
And so pumped about this idea that it was going to be a union joint. So this is going to be 2 strikes for the union joints for rehabs that didn't come through. So you got the Brewster Projects. That was going to be a restaurant. Remember, that was announced a year before this one.
Yep.
Now, according to multiple articles, they said that they found an issue with flooding, the transformer that leaked some things, and there was a lot of structural issues. But the city of Oak Park is basically suing to try to get some movement on this thing, which has a little bit of an echo of the city of Detroit.
Yeah.
It's frustrating that with developers, you have to sue them to get them going. Now, for their part, the owners have had statements in the paper saying that, they're preservationists and they really want to do this thing. But this has been a while, hasn't it?
They bought this building, I want to say in like 2016. I understand we have had a pandemic in between then and now. I get it. I get times have changed, but they bought this building sight unseen with no inspection. And
Really?
Yeah, they had no idea what was going on in the building. They just bought it because it was a cool building.
And it is a cool building.
It is a really cool
building. And I want
building.
this project. I want
know.
this project to happen, but it's clear that there will not be a restaurant there.
No. And, reading through the multiple articles I've seen on this, the one owner has had some like weird responses to being called out on this and being sued for inaction on owning this building. Because the thing is, it's like Oak Park went and got state grants to like fix this problem and to do some remediation on the property.
I think $900,000.
Yeah. And so that's a lot of money for a lot of inaction on a property when they were told that they were going to redo this building and bring a restaurant there. And now that they're just sitting on it.
What was one of your favorite weird reactions?
So in the Free Press Chair, he said, quote, "It would work if it didn't have to be a business. and you could sell $100 hamburgers on 8 Mile and people would line up, end quote. I feel like they just saw this building and wanted it without any forethought as to what could possibly need to be done to that building.
So here's my thing. Everybody screws up in business, okay? But the question is how you deal with the screw up.
Yeah.
And dealing with it is, look, it may be that these buildings can't be saved. We've talked about this on the show, that the time is running out for a number of buildings. I would love to see this saved. I'm a podcaster. I'm a big radio nerd.
Yeah.
Like, you go to the Techtown studio, there's like an old Detrola advertisement from when they made radios before Shinola bought the brand and turned them into watches. So I'd love to see it. It's a cool building. It's like Art Deco history. On the other hand, there is a point where if you're doing nothing, like we're seeing this from Detroit, like everyone says, oh, nothing happens in Detroit. This is creeping into the suburbs. And I can imagine as a resident of Oak Park, you are.
Yes.
That it could be frustrating to see this land sit there where it's either do a development on it or make it, like, do something with it. But this in-between stage has got to be not great.
I think it could be such a cool concept. There are restaurants in 8 Mile, but there's nothing that's a destination on 8 Mile, right? Like 8 Mile is just a thoroughfare. You're speeding down it and you're not really seeing what's going on there.
Are you saying 8 Mile could be better than what it's perceived as?
I feel like it could be. I feel like there could be some really cool concepts on 8 Mile. And it could be a destination beyond just the split between the suburbs and the city.
I think about all the years ago. Remember when, you know, the Statler came down, a bunch of other things, and everyone said it can't be done. Well, what about an idea that we talk about that more than just downtown can be done?
Yeah. I hope they figure out something. If they are able to find a buyer, I hope that whoever buys this building saves it if they can, or puts in something cool, because it would be a really cool place to be able to go check out this radio history.
That's what I wanted to highlight because I just think it's fun. The Droy Auditorium at Wayne State University is getting its reflecting pool back. And it's there's that whole artistic thing that they fixed over there.
Yeah.
The auditorium is a Minoru Yamasaki.
Yes.
Beautiful style. I mean, so many of the things around there, like we've had friends that have gotten weddings in that whole setup over there. It's really an architecturally amazing spot. And so I'm really glad. I know it's a little bit of a news item, but I thought I'd mention it because I just think it's kind of cool.
Chair, you brought this up. The people want to hear about your dad and the Bobcat.
Okay. He's rest his soul, so I can tell the story now. And I can tell you this is how I heard it. This is the way I heard it. I have not fact-checked all of this. And my dad was a yarn teller.
He was.
So we will see. I mean, if people know. But my dad went to Wayne State in the 60s. Okay? And he lived in neighborhoods there, like Woodbridge, Cass. Like, he lived around there. Anyway, this man owned a Bobcat, possibly a Lynx. I'm not sure. He told me about how much he loved it and how many screen doors he'd have to replace over the years because it would just decide to leave the apartment.
It was a wild animal.
This is my dad. Hallucinogens and large cats.
Yes.
So he would tell me that he would sometimes the cat would be out all night or do something. And apparently he got into trouble somehow because the cat was eating fish out of the ponds.
Oh, God.
And would come back with fish in its mouth to his apartment. I can't speak to the veracity of this. When he had a kid, his wife made him get rid of the Bobcat. My dad apparently had a Bobcat, and apparently he got into a lot of trouble. And he would just like go to the bar and then run into his and I'm not sure if it's a full Bobcat. I'm not sure if it was a Maine Coon. Again, this is a yarn that I was told as a child and not able to fact check.
Right. This was pre you being conceived.
Yeah. I mean, on the other hand, it absolutely tracks, doesn't it? Because you knew my dad.
I knew your dad, yes. And I'm not surprised by this story at all.
I feel like it's a nice story.
I feel like it's that quirky,
like I'm sure
cast
it's
corridor. I'm sure there is some embellishment. I'm not going to lie. I mean, between your dad and my dad, there was a lot of embellishing going on. But both of them lived in the cast corridor in certain times. And I mean, it tracks with your dad.
But isn't that kind of the magic of the whole place?
I think so, yeah.
All right, let's end the show with our segment, Tell Me Something Good, where we're going to share an event, something to do, a little piece of knowledge that you should know about. The first ever Holidays in Greektown is this Saturday, December 23rd. Now, if you remember, we had Tony and Owen from Firebird on the show recently, Greektown area.
Yes.
If you haven't checked out that conversation, go back last Monday. Check it out. It's a good one. There will be 14 holiday and Greek-themed ice carvings, caroling hot chocolate. This is a family-focused event, friends, just to be clear about it. The ice carvings run from 2 to 6. The caroling goes for an hour starting at 5 p.m. It's over on Monroe Street, heart of Greektown right there. Fun way to go enjoy a little bit of winter. And I'm glad to see events like this because, look, I know the Winter Blast is successful in Royal Oak, but, downtown Detroit should have some things too.
Jer, this sounds like a fun event to check out.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Daily Detroit, from road diets to buildings that aren't done yet to Bobcats. With that, I am Jer Stays.
And I'm Shianne Serini.
Thank you so much for listening. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll talk tomorrow.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me